Ask most people which planet is the most dangerous in the solar system, and they'll point at the obvious ones. Jupiter, because it's enormous. Venus, because it's hot enough to melt lead. Maybe Saturn, because of the winds, or the rings, or the crushing pressure inside it. But those are the dangers you can see. The flashy ones, the ones every space video already talks about. The real danger of Saturn is something almost nobody mentions. It isn't loud. It isn't fast. You'd never notice it happening. And it has quietly held the power of life and death over this entire solar system, including your life, for about 4 billion years. Let me explain what Saturn is actually doing out there. Because once you understand it, you'll realize we are far more at its mercy than anyone likes to admit. Here's the first thing to get straight. We think of planets as objects, big balls of rock or gas, sitting in their lanes, minding their own business. That's the wrong way to picture Saturn. Saturn isn't just an object. It's an engine, a gravitational engine, 95 times heavier than Earth, and it never switches off. Everything with mass pulls on everything else. You pull on the Earth right now, just a tiny bit. But Saturn is so massive that its pull reaches across hundreds of millions of kilometers and physically rearranges where other things are allowed to go. It doesn't touch them. It just bends the rules of the space around them. And over millions of years, those gentle, invisible nudges decide which objects stay in safe orbits and which ones get thrown somewhere they shouldn't be. To see how powerful that is, think about a kid on a swing. If you push a kid on a swing at random moments, nothing much happens. But if you push at exactly the right moment, every single time the swing comes back, the pushes add up. Small push, small push, small push, and suddenly that kid is flying way too high. You barely did anything. Timing did all the work. Saturn does this to asteroids. As they orbit the sun, Saturn's gravity gives them a little tug at the same point, over and over, year after year. Most of the time it's harmless. But line up the timing just right, and those tiny tugs stack exactly like the swing, until an asteroid that was sitting peacefully for millions of years suddenly gets flung onto a brand new path. Scientists call this an orbital resonance. It's the most underrated force in the solar system, and Saturn is one of the biggest sources of it. Now here's where it stops being abstract and starts being about you. Between Mars and Jupiter sits the asteroid belt. Millions of rocks, some of them big enough to end a civilization. And the question that should keep you up at night is, are they there? It's, what decides whether they stay there? Because if even one of those rocks gets nudged out of the belt and onto a path that crosses Earth's orbit, that's not a documentary anymore. That's the dinosaurs. And the thing doing a huge amount of the nudging, deciding which rocks stay parked and which ones go wandering, is the gravity of the giant planets, Saturn included. There are actual zones inside the asteroid belt that are almost empty, swept clean. Gaps where no asteroid can survive for long. Because the timing of the gravitational pushes from Saturn and Jupiter makes those orbits unstable. Anything that drifts into those zones eventually gets kicked out, sometimes outward into deep space, and sometimes inward toward Mars, toward Earth. So Saturn is sitting quietly in the outer solar system. It's been acting as a sorting machine this entire time, sifting through millions of rocks and deciding, by the math of its gravity alone, which ones are a threat. And here's why this matters more than the famous stuff. You've probably heard the dramatic Saturn facts that it rains diamonds deep in its atmosphere, that the winds hit 1,800 kilometers an hour, that the rings are a swarm of ice and rock moving fast enough to destroy anything that wanders in. All true, all genuinely wild. But notice something about every one of those. They only hurt you if you actually fly to Saturn. They're local. They stay out there. You are never going to be standing in Saturns, clouds getting pelted by diamonds. The gravitational danger is different because it doesn't stay put. Gravity has unlimited reach. Saturn's pull is touching the asteroid belt right now. It's touching the Earth right now, a tiny bit. It's the one Saturn danger that doesn't need you to go anywhere. It reaches out and comes to you. That's why it's the real story. And the diamond rain is just the trailer. But that's only half of what Saturn does. And the other half is honestly stranger. Saturn is also the thing keeping Jupiter in check. Jupiter is the real monster of this solar system. It's more than twice as heavy as every other planet combined. On its own, Jupiter's gravity is so violent that it could turn the asteroid belt into a chaotic mess, flinging rocks everywhere, destabilizing orbits, making the inner solar system a far more dangerous place than it is. But Jupiter isn't on its own. Saturn is out there too, and the two giants are locked in a slow gravitational relationship, pulling on each other as they circle the Sunday. Saturn's gravity tugs on Jupiter, and Jupiter's gravity tugs back, and that constant push and pull keeps both of them in a stable, balanced rhythm. Picture two heavyweights in a tug-of-war, perfectly matched, the rope held tight and still in the middle. As long as they're balanced, the rope doesn't move. The system holds. That balance is part of the reason the inner solar system has been calm enough, for long enough, for life on Earth to even get started. Saturn isn't just a danger, it's also a counterweight, a giant whose pull helps cancel out the chaos a lone Jupiter could cause, which sounds reassuring, until you really think about what that means. It means Earth's safety isn't some permanent, guaranteed thing. It's a balance, a delicate one. The reason rocks aren't constantly raining down on us is that two enormous gravitational engines, hundreds of millions of kilometers away, happen to be holding each other in a steady rhythm, a rhythm nobody is maintaining, nobody is guarding, and nobody could fix if it ever drifted. And these rhythms do drift. Scientists who model the solar system far into the future find something unsettling. Run the math forward over millions of years, and the orbits of the planets don't stay perfectly fixed. They wobble, they interact. Tiny changes feed on themselves. In some of those long-term simulations, the inner planet's orbits become chaotic enough that worlds get their paths seriously disturbed, and the gravitational relationships between the giants, including Saturn, are part of what drives it. Now, to be clear and honest with you, this is not happening tomorrow. It's not happening in your lifetime, or your great-great-grandchildren's lifetimes. We're talking about timescales of millions to billions of years, so you can sleep tonight. But that's exactly what makes Saturn the most quietly dangerous planet of all. Every other threat in the solar system is something you could see coming. A flashy explosion, a visible rock. Saturn's power isn't like that. It's a slow, silent, invisible hand that has been deciding the layout of this entire solar system since before the Earth had oceans, and it will keep deciding it long after we're gone. We didn't survive on this planet because we're safe. We survived because, for now, the math is in our favor. Because a giant we will never visit and could never control happens to be holding the balance steady. Saturn isn't dangerous because it could crush a spacecraft, or because the wind is fast, or because the rings would shred you. Those are just special effects. Saturn is dangerous because it holds a kind of power no human will ever have the power to decide, slowly and silently, what gets to exist in here and what gets thrown out. And it has never once asked our permission. So the next time you see that calm, golden planet with the beautiful rings, remember what it actually is. Not an ornament, not a gentle giant. An engine that has been quietly running the solar system for 4 billion years, and the only reason you're here to look at it is that, so far, it has decided to let you be. So far.